Go.
Welcome to the LSS show. Today we will be talking about the extreme cold weather that we have been experiencing lately. This does not only affect us but also the animals and their habitats. Let's get an inside scoop from Shabina.
So, extreme cold temperatures, they occur when layers of warm air are sandwiched together between two layers of cold air. This usually happens when the air is moist and humid. So, researchers at University of Oklahoma say that snowstorms usually occur in the states such as central North Carolina and West Virginia, Pennsylvania, and New York. And even here in Toronto, we have been experiencing the colder winter so far. We have had a lot of snowstorms and snow hails, and this has affected our habitats in a lot of ways, such as trees get tumbled down to the floor, affecting all the animals that rely on trees for their habitat and birds that build their nests on trees, and also the cold temperatures that we're facing in Toronto is interfering with the migration and habitat cycles of animals. And right today, the coldest parts in Canada this winter were the eastern prairies, such as Ontario, Quebec, and Northwest Territories. And the lowest went to negative 44 degrees. So basically, Layla. So when we think of cold temperatures, we normally think of snowstorms and hails and a lot of precipitation just breaking down habitats, but there's more to cold temperatures. Cold temperatures that we are having is also depleting the ozone layer. So some people wonder why the Arctic is experiencing a lot of warm climates nowadays. And basically, the cold temperatures that we are having is depleting the ozone layer on top of the Arctic. The cooling of the ozone layer enhances the effects of the CFCs and the halocarbon gases, which contribute to depleting the ozone layer. As we know before, CFCs are greenhouse gases that were banned from a couple of years ago because they depleted the ozone layer, and these particles still remain in the ozone layer, and they're still contributing to a lot of changes in the layer. And scientists have seen ozone depletion in the Arctic, where 80% of the ozone was lost. According to the study, the Arctic ozone hole was mainly due to extremely cold temperatures in the ozone layer. So in this layer, chlorine compounds that are from CFCs and other pollutants are converted chemically at temperatures below negative 78 degrees. These chemical conversions produce the depletion of the ozone layer. And Dr. Bjorn Martin Sinhaber has said that future cooling in the stratosphere would enhance and extend the impacts of the substances on the ozone layer. So the greenhouse gases that are already in the ozone layer, with the cold temperatures that we're experiencing today, will work together and deplete the ozone layer. And when we have a hole in the ozone layer, a lot of radiation is being let into the Arctic and other parts of Earth. And when this happens, it results into warmer climates. So ice and poles, they're getting melted, and this affects polar bears and seals because ice is where they hunt on, and ice is a big necessity in their life.
Not only have we been experiencing extreme cold weathers in the past year, but we've also been experiencing many heat waves. Let's take it to Sharuka now.
Thank you, Layla. Okay, so basically, what's a heat wave in the first place? A heat wave is a long-term climate change filled with abnormally hot weather, which may be accompanied by high humidity levels. So a heat wave is caused by higher atmospheric pressure. So basically the air, it goes up and it becomes more compressed, which increases the temperature and dries it out. Once this happens continuously, that's when you get a heat wave. Heat waves are most likely to occur in North America. We all experienced a heat wave before, but how does this affect animals? Well, birds need to keep their body temperatures at a certain level. So to do this, they're gonna like shed off the extra like sweat sort of thing, like how humans do it, right? So an example on how a heat wave affected birds, where a small sparrow bird lost 5% of its body mass every hour due to heat waves, and this can lead to dehydration, and that could lead to death. It affects mammals as well, just like us. So most mammals, babies and mothers die most likely because of heat waves. In 1994, more than 45,000 flying foxes died due to 21 heat waves. Reptiles are also being affected. Well, that's kind of self-explanatory because reptiles need cool weather to live and survive. So now we're going to move on to habitat and how heat waves affect habitats. So first of all, heat waves, they obviously start wildfires. So basically, when a heat wave dries out a bunch of plants in an area, a fire can start because of that. Another thing is that this is bad for farmers because it affects their work. Like once their crop dries out, then they have to pay for all that fertilizing and everything, and that's just too much work. This also helps global warming like 10 times worse because all the radiation that's occurring is gonna get even hotter in our area, and that's gonna make the glaciers melt, and then we all know what happens when global warming occurs. Another thing is that it affects us because it makes the air quality like 100 times worse. Because when heat and sunlight are working together, it essentially cooks the air with a bunch of chemicals, and like that's not good. So I'm gonna show you a graph how heat waves were from the past to the present and how it affects us.
They know so much about the environment, but let's see what they actually know.
For a science project.
Oh.
Okay, go.
Oh wait, but I don't like science.
Okay, there's like major snowstorms happening in the world because of Aboriginal songs and tribal dances. So what do you think about that?
It is happening?
Yeah.
There are heat waves from Somalia, and the polar bears are being extinct because of it. How do you feel about this?
You something project and talk with me something. You go to other store.
Polar bears are getting extinct because of the heat waves from Somalia. How do you feel about that?
Just 1 second.
So how do you feel about polar bears being affected by the heat waves from Somalia?
So I feel so sad that
So recent studies have shown that Aboriginals, every time they do the tribal dance, a snowstorm hits.
Okay.
How do you feel about this?
Scared.
Now that we've been informed about heat waves and extreme cold temperatures, which one do you think is worse?
Heat waves? Why?
I don't know, because of global warming, kind of.
Oh, I think heat waves because when things are really hot, they die.
Temperature.
Why?
Because they cause drought.
Oh, okay, good.
Cold temperature.
Okay.
Because if it's colder, animals have to move to warmer temperatures.
It's not cold.
Tell me!
Sorry, could you repeat the question? I wasn't listening.
Weathers affect habitats and animals more.
The animals would have a harder time finding food and staying warm. In a heat wave, they could easily find shelter under a rock or
I believe cold weather affects
Habitats and animals?
habitats and animals.
That's the bell. You have to go. Go.
Why?
Okay, give me the camera. Okay, so basically cold weather affects habitats of animals because when it's cold, animals like to migrate. So like when it's cold, they like to move north, and when it's warm, they like to move south. So that's why cold weather affects climate and
Thank you for watching the LSS show. LSS!